Good morning and welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Coming up on today's show, we will discuss the latest on the Jonathan Mingo injury, the QB2 battle that seems to be here between Will Grier and Joe Milton, not that it's a fun battle to watch, and if Miles Sanders is actually on the roster bubble for Dallas. Before we get into all of that, we are in the month-long like battle against the Raiders Report. They're up by a pretty decent amount. Raiders are at number 1 among all the chat sports channels. Cowboys Report is at number 2. Let's start chipping away and cutting into that deficit. Like the video for me, please and thank you on today's show. Let's discuss the injury news here on Jonathan Mingo. Watching the game live, I saw Mingo, take his shoes off and walk to the bench. I'm like, okay, that means he's probably fine. Apparently not. The Cowboys reportedly fear, per ESPN's Todd Archer, that Mingo suffered a right PCL injury on Saturday. He was set to have an MRI on Sunday. Now, as of filming, we have no further details on the Mingo injury. Given my luck, we'll probably get the details like 15 minutes after the video goes out today. But, I'm not going to sit around waiting all day for news that may or may not end up coming. So Mingo is now a question mark for just what impact he's going to have, what role he's going to have, what his roster status is. This now opens up the possibility of, hey, putting him on injured reserve if it ends up being a injury that he has to miss time. That's something Todd Archer has mentioned, that Mingo might end up missing some time, which is frustrating and, if not outright, totally disappointing as well for Mingo. Because we haven't seen him play in a game that matters, with a quarterback that matters. Because, Cooper Rush and Joe Milton and Trey Lance and Will Grier, does that actually move the needle? We haven't seen him with Dak Prescott yet, and that's been disappointing. It's been frustrating. Silver lining, which I want him to be healthy and play because you traded a 4th-round pick for him. Silver lining is if he does miss time and has to go on IR, that does free up another roster spot for a wide receiver. Lamb, Pickens, Turpin, Tolbert, mostly, and Mingo were going to make this team. That left maybe one spot for a Ryan Flanoy, a Holden, a Jalen Brooks. I think it's pretty clear right now that Holden's working near the bottom of the depth chart because he hasn't moved up at all in the terms of the preseason. But this might make more space for Flanoy or Brooks or both of them or still Holden to make the 53 and not have to jeopardize putting those guys down through waivers. So what is your concern level over the Jonathan Mingo injury? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, of course, you are unbothered as at completely. 10, you're melting down and freaking out. It's probably not a 10. It's Mingo. It's backup. But let me know what the pinned comment of today's show. 1 to 10 is your scale. Let's discuss the QB2 problem, issue, battle, controversy, situationship. I don't know. The Cowboys have given Joe Milton a ton of run in the preseason so far, with I think the clear and obvious hope to develop him and let him take control of that QB2 job. The results have been bad. We don't have to sugarcoat it. Joe Milton has not played well in the preseason, and it's probably time to see what, if anything else, we're able to get out of Will Grier. The stats so far from Joe Milton in the preseason game: 58.6% completion rate against the Rams. That dipped to 50% against the Ravens. The yards went down, 143 to 122, but it was 17 of 29 versus 9 of 18, so the average went up. But there were no touchdowns. There was another bad deep ball forced interception from Joe Milton, which raises concerns. Will Grier began the preseason hot. He had the fun touchdown scramble, had a nice, I think it was 33-yard pass in the second preseason game, and then went 0 of 4 after that. And now the Cowboys are stuck in this very unenviable situation of, do you even have a QB2 at all? We'll come back to this more in depth here in just a second. But today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. That's right, Prize Picks is back here as a sponsor of the Cowboys Report. As always, it is still very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It is the best way to get in on the action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. Shout out to my guy, producer Jack, who has been pretty successful as of late. He's got the 3-pick power play this weekend, or I should say this Monday. Evan McPherson, more than a field goal and a half, which I actually love that one. Ja'Cory Krosky merits more than 24 and a half rushing yards. Always keep an eye out for kind of the prize picks free squares. Avery Johnson, more than a half passing yards as we get to week 0 for college football. That one is a no-brainer. Jack also sent me his pick of the day. Alex Bregman, because he is a big Boston Red Sox fan. 6.5 more on the fantasy hitter score. Go download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. We appreciate Prize Picks sponsoring us here on the Cowboys Report. I want to get to this quote from Brian Schottenheimer. Says, I think we have to believe that. He was asked, do you have trust in your backup quarterbacks? I think we have to believe we have trust in them. I think we do believe that. Joe Milton is in year 2. I'm not panicked. It's not just them. It's not just coaches. It's the other players. It's all of us. We're not pushing the panic button. We're pushing the work button right now. Now, to be quite honest, from Brian Schottenheimer, that sounds like hopium to me. That's like you're asked, do you have trust in him? It wasn't a yes. It was a we believe in him, which I guess is faith in general. But like, what? That's not a positive quote as far as I'm concerned. Like that actually just kind of like raises more red flags for me of like, okay, do you actually have faith in this backup room? Or I think correctly, are you a little bit nervous right now? So of the 2 options on the Cowboys roster right now, pick your backup QB. JM for Joe Milton, WG for Will Grier. A few more outstanding thoughts on this to come, but head down to the comments section and let me know. JM for Joe Milton, WG for Will Grier. Here's my take on the backup situation right now. If you need someone to get you through a game or 2, I would probably trust Will Grier a little bit more right now. I would rather see Will Grier start the final preseason game and see if he can be a little bit more stable, a little bit more consistent, give us a better chance to evaluate other guys on the roster, and see if he can bring some stability to that backup quarterback room as it is currently constructed. I don't know if that is in a fantastic spot right now as is. In the end, the Cowboys have set this up to be this way. If Dak Prescott goes down for the season, or even for a significant period of time, you probably are better off actually playing Joe Milton, and he either sinks and you get a top 5 pick or whatever, or he swims and you have a new potential option at quarterback. And it was just, he was a regular season gamer. The other options out there right now don't really exist. You don't have viable alternatives in this backup quarterback room. It's like Carson Wentz and CJ Beathard, and if Ryan Tannehill isn't retired, which I kind of think he might be because he didn't want to be a backup last year, like, there's nobody good out there. The Jameis Winston trade would be fun. Be a lot of fun, actually. I don't know if the Giants want to ship him off. He is pretty cheap and affordable. The Cowboys also love their draft picks. They gave up a pick to go get Joe Milton. I don't know if they want to give up another one because they want to punt on the Milton experience so quickly. Other trades are like, Hendon Hooker hasn't been good for the Lions, but that's also like you're kind of having the same issues in Tennessee with less athletic upside, frankly, that he had in Tennessee and you have right now in Dallas. Kenny Pickett? Come on, be serious. He's bad. The Cowboys have pretty much made their bet here. It's Milton and Grier. Maybe both are on the 53, and you kind of just have to lie in it and pray to God that number 4 is healthy, because you're not actually a real contender right now as it is. You could be a playoff contender if 4 is healthy. I don't think you're any of that if he's not healthy. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that one. But it's kind of like some previous years. There's a great line from, I think it was Tom House, Tom Moore, whoever the Colts coach was. He asked, like, why don't you practice Jim Sorgi more? And he's like, if 18 goes down, we're effed, and we don't practice effed. It's kind of what you are right now if Dak goes down. Now, we'll be live this afternoon once again for the Cowboys Report. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV for more free Cowboys YouTube videos, live shows as well. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Let's talk Miles Sanders. Based on some, I think, noteworthy roster projections from like the Dallas Morning News, etc. Sanders, from the media side, appears to be on the roster bubble right now. I am actually not as convinced that is the case, but I think he's on the safe side of the bubble, not on the outside looking inside of the bubble. The injury did cost him time. It cost him time, I think, put him behind the 8 ball a little bit. He played against the Ravens. Didn't do much. 7 carries, 15 yards, had like a 7 or 8 yard run, which was pretty solid, but then had a couple no gains, got stuffed on the 4th down play, which I don't know why he didn't run behind Tyler Booker. He should have run lower too, but Miles Sanders, I think, needs to be treated as an unknown commodity. He should play next week in the Cowboys preseason game. He has not been the same guy outside of Philadelphia. He wasn't good in Carolina. The Cowboys, they ran the ball pretty well in the first preseason game. The second one, not so much. I think Malik Davis has benefited a little bit from getting into the games in fourth quarter and getting just like the opposing team is in pure coverage mindset. But he's run well. I don't want to take away anything from Malik Davis, but he's not really a threat to make this Cowboys roster. Phil Maffa has had a couple good runs called back by penalties. That's frustrating. Deuce Vaughn actually had one too. Neither guy has looked like consistently great. There have been flashes from both. Offensive line probably gets some blame there. Miles Sanders has been the least productive back so far. I have seen plenty of valid Phil Maffa love, by the way. I think it is understandable to give Phil Maffa some love. He's run hard. He's run behind his pads well. He's broken some tackles. He looks like the guy at Clemson in a positive way. But as we'll get into, I'm not actually sure Dallas feels the exact same way. Especially in the preseason, I kind of want to ignore coach speak. I want to ignore the, we're saying one thing, but the feet are moving the other direction, and, their actions say something else in there. So I'll break down what I mean in a second, but predictions first. Does Phil Maffa make the Cowboys roster? Y for yes, does Miles Sanders make the Cowboys roster? Excuse me. Can't even read what's on screen in front of me. Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and get those predictions in for me. Y for yes, he does. N for no, he does not. Here's my theory that I've operated on this season for the Cowboys and under Brian Schottenheimer. And I think it's a reasonable one. The order you get to play is the depth chart order. If you're the first back in, you're the first back on the depth chart unless the guys above you aren't actually playing. So I think we can utilize how the Cowboys have deployed their backs to showcase what the depth chart is. Javonte Williams is clearly RB1. They didn't even play him in the first preseason game. I think that was a mistake. Same with the second one, but still. Jaden Blue, I'm going to put as RB2. He's nicked up right now, but I think he would have been the second back in there. I think he plays in the third preseason game, thankfully. Miles Sanders, he was the first back in. Then it was Deuce Vaughn again. Then it was Phil Maffa. Then it was Malik Davis. Until that changes, I think Maffa's still kind of behind the 8 ball.